Let's go over this again. 50 cars, 50 drivers. 3 classes, 1 champion each. Racing in a variety of race formats and locations. Braving the constantly changing conditions and competition. All for a shot at the fame and glory of being the champion. Welcome to HSR Motorsport GT3 series. Is it easy racing against these guys? I don't think so. Indecision can cause chaos on the racetrack, while confidence can result in perfection. Drivers will push each other to the limits and beyond, while the champion rises through the ranks to take the ultimate glory. Battles will be fought, won and lost, as drivers fight on tracks all across the globe. There will be fear, pain and loss. There will be courage, pride and triumph. Mistakes will be made, and their consequences could be dire. Precision and skill can only be noticed in the very best. This is racing. This is what we love and do. The question is, what will you do? Hello and welcome to the HSR Motorsport GT3 Season 4 Championship, and today you join us for round 6 here at the Red Bull Ring, and I'm sure you can notice that from the flag sitting right in front of you to the bottom right of your screen. So yeah, round 6, here we are, 3/4 through the season already, only 2 races ago. We were saying halfway through the season. That's because it's an 8-round season, so to be honest there's not much, it's simple math. But anyways, if this is your first time joining us, welcome. Don't worry about format being identical. It changes every single weekend, every single race weekend. And so today, here it is. We've got 6... No, what? I'm still going back to the default settings, sorry. We've got 45 minutes of practice, followed by 20 minutes of qualifying, and then 75 minutes of racing. Last week we had 60 minutes, now today we have an extra 15 minutes of racing, just to make that race a little bit longer, a little more challenging. And of course we had to have the pit stop in there, mandatory pit stop for fuel but not for tyres, tyres being optional. So there's a bit of a strategy play there, and yeah, it should just spice things up. The 75 minutes also just means it's not... The 75 minutes means that the car can't really go full tank unless he's lifting and coasting, because without a stop, yeah, he won't make it, even with a full tank. But anyways, round 6 last week, we were at the Hungaroring, just round the corner, and it was an absolutely soaking wet track, so it's nice to see a sunny, dry track again. And there were some complaints about, I think, track conditions last season, or it was the GT4 season. GT4 season we definitely had loads of complaints, but so far it's not been too bad, and it was the first time we actually had rain in about 15 races or so, and it didn't go too badly, I think. Now, as a quick kind of review of the points and the standings for the championship for the pro class, I'll go through the top 5. We've got Topinka with 102 points, Jordan with 60 points, and Rebecci only 1 point behind, 59 points. That's our top 3, Topinka, Jordan and Rebecci. Then we've got P4 and P5, Peters and Lavonios both on 54 points, and an honourable mention, Limburgs is in P6 with only 53 points. There's only 1 point difference between P4 through P6, and again 1 point difference between P2 and P3. Topinka, however, He's much further up the road, a whole 62 point. Math. 42 points ahead. Then in the Pro-Am class, we've got Manship. Sorry, before I do this, I should probably actually also mention, if this is your first time here, we run 3 different classes, Pro, Pro-Am and Am. It's a bit late for that now. But anyways, we move forward. So for the Pro-Am class, then Manship is in the lead with 105 points, Taylor P2 with 84, Fox P3 with 79. And then there's only 2 points between P4 and P5, Pfeiffer and Simmons. And then the rest of the grid, there's some close battling for, I would say, P8, P7, P8, those 2 positions. And then down in the AM class, however, it is very, very tight, as it is every single season. We put so much emphasis on the Pro class, but we usually end up with quite a large gap up at the top. Not so with the AMs. Every single season, the competition between these guys is absolutely it's absolutely amazing. You've got Pinnell currently in the lead with 82 points. Rucroft in P2 with 80, so only 2 points difference there for the championship lead heading into round 6. Then we've got Huben P3 with 73 points, and a lot further down we've got Craddock 65 points and Lewin 62 points. So those are kind of the leaderboards for each of the respective classes. And if you don't know what Pro-Am and Am mean, no worries. Pro stands for professional. Pro-Am is technically pro/amateur, because that's kind of where in endurance racing 2 drivers would share the same car, and one would be a professional driver, one would be an amateur driver. And then you've obviously got the AMs, the amateurs. I should have done that before Pro-Am. I'm doing things in a weird order tonight. I do apologise, but it has been a bit of a boring week for me, so I'm still trying to shake off the brain deadness, the brain rot, so to speak. Right, so we do also have an interviewee later this evening. We do not know when he will turn up, so we kind of have to just wait for a text from him saying he's just around the corner from the commentary box. And in the meantime, we can actually have a look at some of the liveries, have a look at some of the cars going around the circuit at the moment. So currently P1 we have got Marcy in the Aston Martin, running his usual livery, and still looking alright in that livery, I have to say. However, Topinka is in P2 rather than P1, which is quite unusual. He's on a positive delta though, as he's coming through Sector 2 now. So yeah, it's not really too much to worry about. Not too much to get excited about, unfortunately. Topinka has been the man to beat all season long, and he was also the man to beat in the Season 2 Championship. This driver, whenever he raced and whenever he did put in the effort, he took pole position and won the race from there. It was only once in Season 2 when he got overtaken on fair ground, and that was by a driver who isn't in the Season 4 Championship yet. We've just had a message from him today, actually, saying he wants to rejoin the Season 4 Championship. Of course, it is only 2 races to go after this one, which is unfortunate. You know, if he'd done it a bit earlier, maybe it would be nice to see some competition between these two. But it is what it is. It is what it is. And so far, Topinka has unfortunately missed 2 races, and he did not sign out of SimGrid for them. That's the difference. When you sign out of a race on SimGrid, you don't lose any points, and you can sign out of a certain amount. I think it's 2 races you can sign out of before you start getting penalty points, and if you don't sign out, you get penalty points, and it's about -5 points for each time you miss it. And he did not sign out for either one, so he's still got -10 points against his name, yet he is still 42 points ahead of P2 in the championship. Dutton just came out running the same livery he did last week. First time we saw it at the Hungaroring, and I believe there's a little sketch up at the top that has a reference to a race earlier in the season. I believe it was round 4, was Alton Park? I can't remember exactly which round it was, but it was the Alton Park race, and some sort of meme. If you know, you know. Then we've got Schubert in his blue and green Ferrari as well, currently P4. Then Limburg's in the Lamborghini, so no new liveries yet. As of yet, we still only have 16 drivers in the lobby though, so obviously plenty could still change. Jackson in the Ferrari, who used to change his livery almost every single race, but he has said it was a bit tricky to keep up that tempo, and he's opted to just stick to his purple and yellow livery, which is great. You know, it doesn't mean I have to keep adjusting my, I don't know, try and get my brain around a new livery every single week. It's lovely to see new liveries, I love it, but at the same time it just makes commentating so much easier when you know who's in what car. You don't have to keep checking the leaderboard for who you've selected. Then we've got Puller, currently P7, the Pro-Am driver. He was actually, I was actually just checking the stats the other day, he was our Season 3 AM class champion, and now he's up into the Pro-Am class, and he's had a couple good races, just not stellar. So Puller currently has 1 podium to his name, 23 points on the leaderboard as of today, as of now. Then we do have Huben, a AM driver. There we go, the Nissan GTR, that blue and orange one, right in the background behind the Mercedes. He's been doing particularly well this season as well. P3 in the AM class, as he was last season. He's currently got 4 podiums, so he's chasing a 5th podium, but he has not had a race win yet. So hopefully he can get a race win at some stage. That's what he's hoping for. 5th podium, 1st race win of the season. He's still chasing that. Then just ahead of him is, or just before him in the foreground, is that red and white Mercedes. That's Carl Warburton. And Malott has just come past as well. This might be an actual car on the road. Yes, it is. It's one of 2 Honda NSXs in this championship, and he's ripped out a lovely livery. Now this man loves making liveries. He makes it for almost everyone else in the server. Maybe not all 700 members, but you know, whoever's racing in the GT3, he's always available to take livery requests. And he actually had a little bit of a poll. He had 1 livery lined up and this one, and kind of had to ask people which one they wanted to see, and a load of the guys in the Discord server said, yeah, run the Liqui Moly one. And here we are, and I have to say it's looking lovely. I don't know what it is. Usually blue and red for me don't go too well together, and I don't generally like them too much, but Liqui Moly, for some other reason, I just love it. It might have something to do with the fact that it's the main livery I used when I was growing up racing on, what was it, what's something, Grid Autosport, there we go. And yeah, a lot of the Liqui Moly stuff, I was just like, I like it. That was my favourite livery when I was a kid, so I still hold on to it. Malott currently in P11. We've obviously got Warburton. We do have Manship, who's just joined the grid, and he is on a lap out. Where is he? Show yourself, sir. I cannot see you. I think he's probably parked it on, yeah, he's parked it on the exit of the final corner, turn 10. We'll have a little track tour at some point as well. And we've got Tyler. Oh, I need to remember to switch it. Tyler in the Porsche. It's nice to see a new livery from him. Previously, he was just running a green and red livery. It was really weird. It was Zolder when all the red and green liveries came on, and I was like, what is going on? Everyone just suddenly decided to go for this new craze. Everyone decided to go for the red and green liveries. And I think I just completely missed our interviewee message. I believe he might be waiting outside my he might be waiting outside the commentary, or he might have been waiting outside the commentary box for a considerably long time, so we'll see whether he's still willing to do the interview. I mean, we've never had someone refuse to do an interview because I forgot they were there. To be honest, it's the first time it's happened, so I don't think there's too much. You know, there's not. I don't really have a reputation for that kind of thing. But I completely missed his message for some other reason. It just didn't show up on my phone. So we'll see whether he picks up, whether he sees it, whether he answers. The thing is, he might be in a discussion with someone else, and then I just open the door randomly and he's going to be mid-discussion saying something that shouldn't be for our ears. So I don't want to interrupt him or anything. But while we wait for him to reply, let's see, we've got Rebecci back out again, the usual McLaren red livery. And Rebecci's been doing pretty well this season, showing off his Season 1 skills. Of course, we did not broadcast Season 1, so Rebecci was kind of a new character to us as viewers and me as a commentator. But I was in Season 1 and I raced in the same season. So, yeah, not too unfamiliar to me. And then, of course, we do have a couple other drivers joining now. We've got Craddock in the McLaren. Recently, he's been making quite an appearance on the grid. He's been doing really well. He's been getting a couple podiums. Let's see how many. So at the moment, he is in the AM class, 3 podiums, 2 of which are race wins. Currently 65 points P4. So he's doing quite well this season. And I mean, we saw him last season and he seemed fairly competitive, but he just didn't have the consistency to join every single race. But here we are, Season 4, he's back at it and he is racing almost every race, so it's nice to see him here. Again, just a white livery. I think it is a default, but either way, it looks good, I like it. Janssen, the DSRT livery as per usual. Van Nagen's also running the exact same thing, so if I get those two mixed up, then please forgive me. We also have Curtis, who's just joined, and there we go. Great to see an actual livery this time. He joined us last week with a pure carbon fiber Aston. Why did I say Aston Martin on this? In a pure carbon Mustang. There we go. I don't know why my brain's taken a hit tonight. So he joined us in a Mustang last week, I think for the first time, and unfortunately, about a third of the way through the race, he ended up adding a new cooling vent to the front of his nice Ford, and I mean it looked alright. It's usually quite a nice look on the Mustang, and he's gone for a red and black and white. What is it with a red and black and white liveries nowadays? It seems to be the most popular one. I'm gonna get this thing confused, but fortunately there aren't many, if at all, other Mustangs running the same livery, and any Mustangs to be honest. But yeah, still, it's the same livery colours as we've seen on so many cars already this season. Who else do we have? We've got Ozduru in the Aston Martin. A bit quiet from Ozduru. Last week we saw a lovely livery. It was kind of a navy/white livery with some splotches on it. I absolutely loved it. Looks like he's added some orange or red. Is that orange or red? I don't quite know. He's added some details to just spice up the colour slightly, and I think he's just coming out of the pit lane now, so we might get some details from the side as well. There's a Porsche going by. That's either Van Nagen or Janssen. Told you I'd get those names confused. No, it looks like Ozdu's not quite coming out. Then we have Alfred in another Porsche, the usual lime green car, and it's looking good as per usual. We've got Peters in the BMW yellow and black livery. We saw this one debuted, I think, round 2, and since then, yeah, it's been fairly regularly seen on the racetrack, and yeah, it is quite a nice livery. Yeah, I don't think our interviewee's quite happy with us for leaving him. Let's see what happens when I send him something random. So does he have his Discord notifications on? That is the big question. If he doesn't have them on, then yeah, we might not get the interview in tonight. But if not, then, or if he does, then lucky us. Okay, Van Lagen in the Porsche. Oh, literally inside the same frame. Again, Porsche, red, black, white livery, standard, as per usual this season. And unfortunately, I think we are having some tech issues. Nothing that that will stop us from broadcasting this time, but it's something to do with the wireless control of the screens and stuff, because I'm in charge of broadcast as well, not just the commentary. So it means, yeah, when there are issues, yeah, I usually have to say, "Oi!" I mean, it's nice because I can then give a proper, I can warn people, "Oh, we're going offline for just a couple moments," yada yada yada. But nothing too serious today. P22 is Lavagnos in the McLaren, again running the Mercedes livery, and I don't think that ever gets old. Every time from the front, oh, it looks kind of normal, it looks a bit boring, and then it comes past, you know, like, ooh, silver arrows, I see. So like a gradient change from the grey to the black is quite nice. Shiny black to the back and matte grey on the front. I like that. I like that transition. Or it looks matte, but it really isn't. And then we do have Fox, currently P23, but he hasn't set a lap at all. So really, the positions are just suggestion at this point. And we've had plenty of chats previously about that. And yeah, Aaron is still here. Okay, so here we go. And Aaron Manchip joins me in the commentary box for the first time. How are you, sir?
Yo, yo, yo. You right, Yanis?
Yeah, I'm doing good, doing good. Sorry I missed your text. For some of the reason, Discord just wasn't giving me any proper notifications.
Oh, okay, no worries.
Give me just a second here. So, let's have a little chat. We'll first start with like a fun question. Last season you were running a yellow Ferrari. Why did you switch to McLaren this season?
Well, because I actually initially started on McLaren. I felt like that was kind of quite a fast car. Did try the BMW. I was going to go for BMW this season, but yeah, I don't know. I struggled with it. It's quite a difference from the Ferrari, but absolutely. Yeah, no, I am loving the Macca, mate.
Yeah, and my next question is really, is the McLaren your favourite car? Why or why not?
Yeah, at the moment, yeah. I would love to actually go back in the Ferrari just because I feel I have got a little bit better. So it would be nice to see if I was any faster in the Ferrari now. I did like the Ferrari, to be fair, but yeah. So maybe next season. Maybe next season,
and you still fancy a BMW maybe in 2 seasons, or like
it could happen.
Cut it off? Could happen.
Yeah, it could happen. Yeah, Porsche. I'm not going to do Porsche. I'm not doing Lambo.
Not doing Porsche.
Maybe
not Lambo.
Maybe the Aston. I don't know. Aston or Beamer is up there.
Yeah. I mean, the BMW is really different, isn't it? Because usually with the McLaren and the Ferrari, it seems quite tail happy, and then you get in the BMW, it feels like an absolute brick to drive.
And it seems to go over the curbs real nice. I see people like flying over curbs, no problem at all. So. That's a good thing. I think I might take up one day.
Yeah. Cool. So a little more serious, but not really serious because we're still chat. It's still just a casual chat. Last season went quite well for you. Got P2, just ahead of Huben in the AM class. What did you think of your first championship with us?
Yeah, really good fun. Really enjoyed it. I didn't when I first bought like the rig. I've not had it all that long. And I didn't even realise there was leagues and stuff like this. So when I found it, I thought, oh my god, this is definitely a bit of me. But yeah, really good fun. Really love it.
Oh,
And like you
brilliant.
say, just beat Hooben on that last race.
That last race. It
Yeah,
was. I mean, it was
it
close
was
though.
good.
And
It was very
initially, it seemed
close.
like you had it because you
Yeah.
qualified usual position, and then Huben was just stuck in literally
Mm.
dead last. And then during the
Yeah,
race,
yeah.
something happened. He caught up, got past you, and then literally, I look again, final lap. You're back ahead of
And I
him.
was ahead. I know, mate. Crazy,
It
real
was
crazy.
nuts. So I'm assuming you're quite happy with the result from last season.
Yeah, I'll take that 100%. Obviously, first would have been great, but Puller was really quick all season. So I will take a second place all day long.
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, this season you're absolutely dominating at the moment. You've got like a what is it, 20-point lead or something over
Yeah.
PT. What are your goals and expectations for this race and the next two?
Um. So yeah, I mean 20 odd point lead. I'd like to think I could hang on to it. Mickey's chasing. I know Fox is behind as well, but I don't know this race that well, or this track that well. To be fair, so I would take a podium. I'd be happy with a podium, but the next two I know quite well, so I'm hoping that they can see me over the line, maybe.
Absolutely, and I mean, if you can get those two podiums, that'll put you up to 7 podiums this season,
Oh my
which I
God,
think
really?
is, yeah, it's probably, you might potentially beat Topinka in terms of the most amount of podiums achieved in the
Really?
season. I think I still
Blimey.
need to run up like overall staty stuff,
Yeah,
but you are
yeah.
actually, you know, Topinka's on 102 points, you're on 105. So
Right, okay.
you've got 3 points on Topinka, but I don't imagine that'll stick around for too long. We'll see.
No.
We'll have to see how it
No,
goes.
definitely not.
And yeah, I mean, you've said you're obviously confident with those last two races. How about the Red Bull Ring? How confident are you on this track?
Yeah, not that much to be fair. I put a couple of hours in last night, and I think maybe an hour early in the week. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see how we go. I think it's a long old race, so there's going to be some drive-throughs for people. There's going to be some offs and whatever else. So anything could happen, but just got to see it through, I guess. Just hopefully I'm crossing that line first.
I mean, last week it seemed like you were struggling slightly at the Hungaroring, and obviously wet track and everything, but
Yeah,
you know,
it was.
it was. You seemed to be struggling slightly with the drive behind catching you.
Yeah.
What was going on
I'm not
there?
sure who was it. I'm trying to think who it was. One of the AMs was quite close.
Simmons, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, Simmons at times is definitely quicker than me. So yeah, I know when he's closing in behind, I know it's tight. But I think I put a really good quali lap in. So I think I finished 7th. So it's probably one of my better finishes. But yeah, the rain is real unpredictable for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, something to improve on, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. And, well, we've only got 15 minutes left in the race, so last question. What is going to be the key to winning at the Red Bull Ring?
Key for me, I think it's going to be consistency.
Mm-hmm.
Just get the laps in. Don't hit that fat curb on the second corner.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God!
Turn
Yeah,
3.
that's gonna be the one I'm worried about. But yeah, just consistency. Get the pit stop right, and then hopefully all will fall into place.
Absolutely, and I mean, there's still a lot that you can do on this circuit. You get those circuits where it's a nice track to do a quali lap on, but it's rubbish to race on, and then you get vice versa. The tracks that are nice to race on and rubbish to quali on, and I feel this is one of the tracks where it's great to overtake, and you see plenty of action into turn 3 and the S's and stuff like that. So even if you end up with a rubbish quali lap, there's still plenty that can happen.
Oh, for sure, yeah, definite. We'll wait and see.
Yeah, absolutely, and yeah, we'll have to wait and see. We've only got 15 minutes left. Go do your lap, sir, and we'll see you on the other side.
You. Well done, Yannick. Thank you, mate.
Manchip, our current Pro-Am Championship leader, and he is absolutely killing it. As you heard, he's got not as large a lead as Topinka on PT, but he's got more points than Topinka does, which seems miraculous. But Topinka has missed 2 races and has got obviously that minus 10 points that we talked about earlier against him. So technically, if he'd signed out, Topinka would be on 112 points. but still 105 is nothing to be ashamed of. It's much better than he did last season. I mean, not that he did rubbish, as we heard, Manchip P2 in the AM class, but just the amount of improvement we've seen from him recently. He went up to the Pro-Am class, and usually when you've got that transfer, we've seen it happen quite often where they then struggle to actually get on their feet and, you know, obviously perform at the same level just because of the added competition. We've had that with Story, I think. We've had a couple drivers transfer, particularly from the Pro-Ams into the Pros. But we've also seen some AMs going to the Pro-Ams just like Manchip, and they've just absolutely flourished. They've just absolutely gone nuts. So yeah, it could go either way. It could go either way. Cool. 24 cars. Let's see whether anyone new has joined. It's a new Pfeiffer. I think Pfeiffer's a new addition to the current lobby out on circuit, and there is virtually no one in the pits. There's maybe 4 or 5 guys in, but this is Pfeiffer now in the Ferrari black and blue car, running the same livery as he has been for the past couple of weeks. And Pfeiffer's also been doing quite well. He was our season 1. He was quite good at season 1, and then season 2 he was our AM class championship winner. So now he's up to the Pro-Am class, and he's not doing too bad. P4, as we heard earlier, with 4 podiums, maybe looking for 5th podium, just like Huben, maybe looking for his first race win of the season. I mean, he won in the AM class, so technically he didn't win because he got transferred to the Pro-Ams and all the results then get recalculated. It's the same for Limburgs, really. He had 2 wins in the Pro-Am class, but because of his pace, he just got bumped up to the Pro class, and obviously those other results were then recalculated in relation to the Pro class. So he's only got 1 race win to his name now. So, you know, that is one thing I don't quite like about the class swaps, is that the points just keep getting reshuffled and the stats keep changing. So it is a bit of a tricky one there, but, you know, as the end of the season approaches, there are less, I don't know, it almost feels like driver exchanges, or, you know, in football, you know, teams exchange players and stuff, and so it feels the same way here, you know, the different classes exchanging drivers, and it's always just so hard to keep on top of things. Let's see, has anyone else joined the lobby? We do have 2 new cars, Christoph and the Ferrari going round. That cyan and red car has been on broadcast a couple times for various reasons, and we can hope for a clean race from him today. Who else do we have that joined? There has to be some drivers that have joined new. Fox, Taylor, obviously Manchip in the McLaren, who we just had a chat with, making the most of the last 15 minutes of practice in the orange and blue car. I have to say, it is a lovely livery. We couldn't see it for the first race. We couldn't see many liveries on the first race when we were over at Zandvoort, but, you know, it's obviously changed now. We've got a grid full of very, very colourful liveries, and I don't think we've seen anyone upload an incorrect livery so far during practice. We've only got 10 minutes left. We've only been going for about half an hour, so things can still change. You know, we can still see a couple of guys turn up in all carbon, and I mean, it's not a bad look. Oh, and there's Manchip going slightly sideways. But I mean, the one driver that was always quite funny to observe during races was Chard, and every time you would load in and think, oh, he's forgotten to upload his livery again, but well, his livery is actually just gloss black, like nothing else on it, literally just gloss black, so not even carbon. It was literally plain black. And yeah, I mean, it stood out when the grid was actually all ready to go, but otherwise he just looked like every other car, unless you look really closely, you know. But you don't really have time to do that during the race unless you're focusing directly on the car. So, but yeah, that was kind of his trademark, you know. That was a Chard thing. You know, you always have kind of, each driver has his little thing. do have live stewarding. We did just get a ping on the Discord server, so we've got apparently the owner, Craig Hewlett, who is the driver but can't make the race tonight. Apparently he is live stewarding tonight though, so he's looking for some good behaviour. Just a couple of weeks ago at Zolder, he was shocked at the, how do you call it, I'm trying to think of a word for it, but basically there was so much contact and stuff, he was kind of shocked at it and said, yeah, we're going to start putting in more severe penalties for contact. So yeah, he's enforcing that right at this moment, which is good, because Zolder itself was a race where we saw plenty of contact, plenty of rubbing, plenty of hard defending, particularly Brum. He was really quite entertaining to watch. He would not let anyone go by, and to be fair, it was 2 30-minute sprints, so you know, when you're racing in races that you can actually just go all out on, you're going to defend. But yeah, just the measures he took to keep the cars behind him was absolutely nuts. He would literally go right onto the apex, all the way down the inside of the corner under braking, and then on the exit he would run it as wide as he can. And you know, you had to be brave to try and get past them, and we saw 2 or 3 drivers do so, but the unfortunate 1 or 2 stuck behind him had to take advantage of him spinning out at some point. That was through turn 8, I believe. I do apologise if I don't get to check out all the live chats. Elbow Castro, thank you for joining. Malot as well. I think you're supposed to be driving, sir, so just make sure you've got both hands on the steering wheel, please. Open Lobby Racing, who is that? Is that Josh? I don't know who that is, but Open Lobby Racing, I feel like I should know who you are. So if you drop your name in there, then I might recognise you. I suspect it's Josh though. Don't know. Tom Miro giving us support for the DSRT guys. The red livery gang. Oh, and Hosco's watching again, and Topinka as well, and the Lambo. Again, just make sure when you're driving. Why I'm feeling so insecure about it is because I'm having to do my driver's license very soon. So, you know, I'm also very aware of, you know, just making sure you don't have any distractions, you try and drive properly. Marcy also in there, again saying things, please don't text and drive, especially in a race car that is much quicker than a normal car. Who else do we have? Yeah, Open Lobby Racing, yeah. I just knew it. I could envision your voice as you were saying that comment. I could just, I don't know, there's just something about it. Who do we have in the lobby? Still 26 drivers, 5 minutes remaining. Schubert going slow. Topinka not really putting out too quick a time, a 129.05, essentially P5 for him. Now we did hear from him last week that the Lamborghini choice was not voluntary. Well, it kind of was. He basically just told someone to choose a car for him, and rather than go BMW, he thought, hey, I'll go Lambo. Which, to be fair, has worked out fairly well for him so far, but it does mean that Topinka, obviously the driver that he is, can then just adjust to the new car, push it as hard as he can, and he's still performing well. And I mean, it hasn't served Limburg's any wrong either. Limburg's obviously absolutely dominating the Pro-Am class before he got swapped into the Pro class. So Lamborghini, not too bad a choice this season. Oh my goodness, there's Jackson on turn 7, going slightly airborne, and we saw some, we've seen some great airborne antics from Jackson, the one he just showed us. Also, actually, it was quite funny qualifying last race at the Hungaroring as the Pro class. Brain again, just not braining tonight. As the quali ended for the Pro class, Jackson was slowing down, pulled over to the side of the road, and another driver just came in and absolutely flew into him. And Jackson, in the words of the funny meme, helicopter, helicopter, she just went round and round in the air, flying about 2 meters above the ground. So it was quite funny to watch, kind of an end of qualifying kind of thing. And obviously, you know, going airborne over the curb of turn 7 Worth. So yeah, it's quite funny to watch it just a couple of moments ago. Cool. And we only have 3 minutes left in practice before quali starts, and if I'm not mistaken, qualifying is once again split quali, so the Pro-Ams and Ams will go out for the first 10 minutes. They will have the track all to themselves, and then the final 10 minutes is only for the Pro class. So the drivers who are most likely to get frustrated by slow traffic then get the track all to themselves. I'm not saying they're all hotheads, which I know some of them are, but the majority of them are all right. But it's just to minimise that chance of any kind of conflict, I guess. But also, yeah, it just keeps the driving clean. And now, whoa! And there's Jackson going for a spin at Red Bull Mobile, turn 10. I do realise we haven't gone for an actual track tour yet. Let's look for a driver who's close to the end. 197, I believe, is quite close. Taylor in the McLaren. Right, let's go on board with him for a quick... Whoa, and there's Fox also perpendicular to the track. Right, let's go for a quick track tour with Taylor. So down to turn 1, Nicky Lauda curve. Get onto the curb as much as you can. Break in a straight line. Avoid the curb on the inside. Avoid the curb on the outside as well. Got a little decompression there, so we might see a couple spins. Up the hill through turn 2, which will be the left-hander, not this right-hander. This left-hander. Flat out, obviously, into the braking zone for turn 3. Huge hairpin, really hard braking. And that is likely going to be happening at turn 1, lap 1. Obviously, avoid the curb on the exit as well. Just means your exit's floored. Again, just be aware of your throttle input on the exit. You might spin it. Then over the hill, on the way back down, we've got turn 4. Which is kind of an interesting... I'm not sure whether it's an early apex and then you just run it out wide, or... Yeah, it probably is. So just keep your mid corner speed up through there, through the right hand of turn 5 into turn 6, now into kind of an S kind of section. Through the left-hander again, you can use that curb, go wide, through here, just a little dab on the brakes into turn 7 Worth, and then if you've done it right, then you should run naturally out onto the curb of turn 8, that right-hander. Then it's flat out, curb drops away. As you reach the crest of the hill, the curb comes back in, you try and get over it. Then into turn 9, fast right-hander, just a little bit of curb, just a little bit of braking, and then into turn 10, it's a fast right-hander where the camber actually helps a lot to keep the car pinned. Of course, the high speed helps with the downforce. So if you've got a car like the McLaren or the Ferrari, obviously yes, that's not a problem to take at speed. And Taylor's time was only good enough for P15. But, sorry, I say only P15. It's good enough for P3 in the class, behind Johnson and Simmons. So yeah, Taylor, obviously in the yellow and red McLaren. He's also been running the same livery all season long, and I think last season as well. So it'll be nice to see some change at some point, but I believe there is some significance to the livery he has at the moment, so you know, I'm not too pressed on that. Let's see who else has joined potentially. I'm loving the chat, guys. Keep it up. We've got qualifying approaching very quickly, and actually I keep forgetting to do this every time. I just think of doing it and then I don't actually get around to it. But looking at race control, and actually I'm very happy with what I'm seeing. There are no contacts listed. Basically I've got a list of every time two cars have come together, we've touched each other, or you know, contacted each other. Every time I say it, sounds weird. Every time they've essentially crashed into each other, put it very simply, it comes up on some software, and at the moment there is nothing showing on the software, so that is always a good thing to see, especially during practice. Qualifying, it's obviously not great to see, because qualifying is meant to be the time when you're driving at your cleanest, and obviously during the race, lap 1, turn 1 tends to be a bit of a woozy. So yeah, we'll probably see plenty of action there. And that then is the end of practice. Join us in just a couple seconds for qualifying. It's already underway, but just give us a moment to set up. There we go. I was too into the practice chat, too into the kind of practice casual mode, that I'd forgotten to do some stuff for the software. It'll be nice to have someone who just controls the cameras and stuff for me at some point, and then I can just focus on the commentary. Cool. So we are currently following Warburton on his qualifying lap, that red and white Mercedes. And if you're wondering, again, if this is your first time joining us, welcome. We're just starting 20 minutes of split qualifying. This means that Pro-Ams and AMs are currently out on track for the first half. They'll have 10 minutes to set their fastest lap times, and then the last 10 minutes of qualifying will be for the pros. And at the moment we've literally just got started. Warburton, the car we are following now, will be the first to set a qualifying lap. So he'll kind of be setting the initial bar, but usually that bar isn't set too high, so lap times will probably keep falling. And the weather does seem to be looking good for the race as well. Apparently weather randomness set to 2. So there is a little bit of variation that could happen, but I don't think it's going to be too bad. So here we go, Warburton coming through the last couple of corners now. Warburton, I believe, was in the AM class to start with, but also performed quite well. Got bumped up to the Pro-Ams class, or I'm just talking rubbish. Yeah, I can't remember at this point. So if he manages to do well here, this could be his first podium. Seemed a bit slidey going through turn 9 though. Okay, across the line, what is the initial time? A 1:31.3. Next car to cross will be Puller, also in the Pro-Am class in the BMW. Easy tops it with a 1:30.235. Manchip will be coming across the line now, a 1:30.0. The times will just keep dropping, and at this point it's where I just give up and say, sorry, times are dropping too quickly. I can't be bothered to keep changing to the next car because they just keep coming in so quick. Here's Curtis now in the Mustang, the only Mustang out on track today. Through the right-hander. Where will he come out? He did have some pretty good pace at the Hungaroring, and he comes out P2 for his class. Ozduru taking provisional pole for his class car, 343 in the Aston Martin, the 1:30.1. And we've got Tyler P3 in the Porsche, so well done. Manchip, despite him saying this is not a track he's very confident with, is still P1. And here comes Craddock now, faster than all of them in the McLaren, a 1:29.4. Looks like Curtis has a pretty good delta on his second lap out. They only have 5 minutes left. Yes, I know qualifying always feels so short when you've got only 10 minutes to do it and you've got about 20 cars on track. Pro qualifying is a little more organised, it feels. This is all just like, just go, 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 just get the laps done. Huber now takes P3 for the for the AM class, but Curtis is looking good heading into sector 3. He's just going through turn 8 now on the curb. Heading into sector 3 now, there we go, out of turn 8. He's got another 2 corners to go before the finish line. Could he make up more time? Let's see. He needs to make up 6/10 if he wants to take P3 for his class, and improve a whole lot more if he wants to take P2, let alone P1. And there we go, we can see Milot letting him through. Curtis unfortunately not able to set a valid lap time. I think potentially that was literally last corner, because he's already improving, and yeah, that was just very unfortunate. Manship now with the fastest lap overall. Simmons just coming through, 197 just behind. That's Taylor. So we've got a couple drivers there. Driver who does seem to be on a good lap is Warburton, now heading into turn 8. He's had a pretty good lap time up to sector 3 now, which is where the timing board stops. So again, last 2 corners, just keep it clean, get that valid lap in. He's only got 4 minutes left. Keep it clean through the right-hander, through the second right-hander. And there we go, looks like it's a valid lap. Where will Warburton come out? He's currently got a 131.3 across the line. That's a 129.9, so almost over a second difference. Sorry, not almost, more than a second difference. Almost a second and a half is Warburton, currently P5 overall, P4 for his class. But Craddock is actually performing really well tonight, maybe forcing the admins to consider swapping him into the Pro-Am class, but for both my sakes and his sakes, I would say please not at the third last race of the season, unless he actually does end up annihilating the entire grid. But yeah, Craddock now provisional pole overall, and for his class P1, Osduru P2 for the AMs, and Huben P3. Who else seems to be making some progress up the grid? Let's see. We do have Van Lagen pushing in the Pro-Am class again. Pfeiffer as well. So you can see some changes for position. Looks like Curtis has just set second fastest lap for the AM class. So big up for the Mustang driver. Van Lagen also improving on his sector 1 and sector 2 times. Almost over a second now, going through the penultimate couple corners. 130.877 was his last lap. Van Lagen now through turn 10, across the finish line. Where will he come out? It is a valid lap time, and that is P7 overall for him, P5 in his class. So Van Lagen performing quite well. And we've got Manchip again, just absolutely running. Oh, it looked like he was actually destroying his lap time, but turns out he actually had some sort of issue on an exit somewhere and he's losing time now. A puller now for the Pro-Am class again, coming across the line, but unfortunately not enough to get an improvement on the position. Janssen and the other red and white and black Porsche now comes across the line, literally right behind Van Lagen. So Janssen and Van Lagen will essentially be starting not in the same row, unfortunately, but they'll be starting within eyesight. Oh, and Janssen just bails out on turn 1, and his Warburton, I don't know why I wanted to say Craddock for some other reason, coming across the line now for the Pro-Am class. We've got Manship, Taylor and Simmons, our top 3. Taylor seems to be improving through sector 2 across the line, and he has improved his time, but not enough to enable him to take pole position. Fox seems to be in an improvement. There's Taylor going slow. Fox now out of sector 1, and he is improving. He's had an improvement when he crossed the timing line. Now into turn number 4. Let's see how this goes. 1 minute remaining in qualifying for these guys at the moment. Craddock, Curtis and Osduru, our AM podium starters, and then Manship, Taylor and Simmons for the Pro-Am class. Fox though, the 130.037. If he wants to take pole, he needs to improve by over a second, but his sector 2 time was just not fast enough. He needs to make up more than a second in these final 2 corners if he wants to do it, and that is a nigh impossible task. At this point, he can only hope for some good corners and an improvement on his lap time. This will likely be either his last or his penultimate lap, because he does know the rules, so he's not likely going to be staying out for much longer. Here we go, though. Across the line, where does he come out? He's made up 2 positions, so that's Fox now into P7. Does he peel off into the pits? Doesn't look like it, so he is pushing for 1 more lap, and technically he's alright to do it because he'll be ahead of the pros coming out. So 10 minutes now, the pros will start coming out, and the pro-ams and the AMs need to start filing back into the pits. So at the moment then, it's Craddock, Curtis and Ozduru again. It's been this way for a while. Our AM starters in the top 3. Huben almost taking the P3 position away from Ozduru, only 600ths off. And then for the Pro-Am class, it's Manship, then Taylor, then Simmons. And Simmons maybe slightly struggling on his lap. Fox as well. Ozduru still out, just coming across the final line now. I think he's going to improve across the line. Where does he go? He does go fast and almost manages to take P2 away from Curtis. It was really, really close. In fact, that is only 1200ths difference between them. Absolutely incredible. And here's Pfeiffer now coming into the pits, being the responsible driver that he is. And now the pros will be coming out. Who will be the first to cross the line here? Fox will be the last to cross the line for the Pro-Ams, and it only seems appropriate that Topinka will be the first to start a flying lap for the pros. So then, just before we get this started, we've got our top 3 for the Pro-Ams being Manship, Taylor and Simmons, and then for the AMs it'll be Craddock, Curtis and Ozduru. I feel like I've said that about 3 or 4 times, just because it hasn't changed at all. But Topinka now across the line to start his first lap, and let's go on board and see what it looks like from his perspective. Actually, let's drop it down one. Let's get right up on that bumper and see exactly what that car is seeing directly in front of it. First couple of corners. Now you may notice it is only 7.5 minutes remaining in qualifying for these guys. Yep, that's just the sad reality of having a split quali, and that quali being 20 minutes long to start with. So yeah, it is a bit of a tough ask, but it means that qualifying is always interesting, because the drivers that are used to having longer time and more, I don't know, margin for error can then be blindsided by it and not get a lap in. And unfortunately that has included me in the past. Now across the line, Topinka comes across to set the target lap time of 128.8, so 2/10 faster than Craddock in the AM class. Jackson now across at 129.0. Lavanius and Peters now as well, 129s. So very closely matched there. Marcy P2, 129.025, 2,000ths between P2 and P3 overall at the moment. And why I say at the moment is because the lap times just keep tumbling. And there is Rebecci taking pole. And again, that is a very rare thing to see. Rebecci almost 4/10ths faster than Topinka. So Topinka, unless he's struggling, he must have had a rough lap somewhere. Well, sorry, not somewhere. He must have had a rough lap somewhere out on circuit. There may have been. I do apologise for my brain tonight. As I said, it's been a bit of a rubbish week in terms of keeping my brain fresh and alive. So I might make some more mistakes tonight, but that's all for the fun of it. Here's Marcy just heading out to turn 4 through turn 5. He's currently had a pretty good delta through sector 1. Let's see how his sector 2 time goes through the left-hander, then through the right-hand. Well, no, sorry. First left-hander, another left-hander, and then a right-hander. The camera is still a bit odd to me. I don't know why. I did it just now with Curtis, didn't I? He said he was going through turn 8, and that was only turn 6. But Marcy now through the final couple corners. Right up to the curb, through turn 10. You can see just how much slip angle that Aston Martin has, and everyone will be setting their second lap times now. Marcy across the line. He has improved, but just not enough to take P2 away from Topinka, so he could potentially see some action between the top 2 or 3 drivers, Topinka and Rebecci. Looks like Peters is on a good exit out of turn 1. Schubert also improving on his time in sector 1. Where's Schubert at the moment, actually? Let's have a look. Oh, well, they just keep... Because there are only about 8 or 9 pro drivers, you know, they're all pretty much in a straight line. So, yeah, we'll have to see. Schubert, though, he looked particularly strong during practice. But as we've said before, practice is more just like a suggestion. It's more just theorizing about things, and you can't actually, you know, deduce anything really helpful about it, because drivers might be practicing their quali setups, they might be practicing their race setups, so there's just too many variables to take into account. So Becci seems to be improving now as well as he heads into sector 2, and Schubert unfortunately has to bail on his lap. He had a pretty good delta heading into sector 3. Oh, and that is a lovely camera angle. You can see Schubert go right over the camera. Another driver to keep an eye out for is, of course, Rebecci. Currently pole right behind Schubert as he comes into the final couple corners. The last 2 corners now, trying to cement his position up at the top of the leaderboard. P1 for him. Limburgs now takes P2 so all of a sudden. Oh, and Rebecci just keeps the car under control through the final corner. But that has ruined his lap time, I think. And yeah, he's come to a stop just before the line. Topinka trying to respond to these lap times, the absurd lap time set by Rebecci, 128.4, and then Limburg's 128.5. Oh, and you can see just how close Rebecci is to stepping over that line. Just on the boundary. There's Kurt Peters just heading back to the lobby to allow them through, but Topinka, I think, unfortunately, has invalidated his lap time, so he won't be able to... Yeah, he'll have to wait another lap, and his time is running out. 3 minutes, so it is cutting it a bit close here. Marcy again on a charge, but Schubert seems to be improving more. Let's hope he keeps that lap time valid, and it still is valid, so fingers crossed for the man in the blue and green Ferrari. He was improving at about this point as well, so it seems to be a fairly consistent performance from him. Now through the final couple corners, through turn 7, Worth, then into turn 8, there's Limburgs just ahead. Limburgs was on an absolute rocket of a lap, and he was fairly lucky that Schubert decided to get out of the way. So some good sportsmanship from the Ferrari driver. Now through turn 9, Rindt, and then into the final corner, Red Bull Mobile. Turn 10, he's kept it in a straight line across the line. Where does Schubert come out? There we go, P6. So he's made some good progress up the field with that lap. And I think Peters has also come across. Marcy, there we go. Marcy currently in pole position. P1 for Marcy, P2 for Limburgs, P3 for Rebecci. So Limburgs also managed to improve on his lap time, and the lap times just keep falling. Topinka has to respond somehow. He's been our fastest driver on the grid forever, pretty much, and whenever he's raced, he's always been on pole position. Could this be the first time this doesn't happen? Could this be the first time that Topinka is beaten to P1 right at the start of the race? He'll have to go through 3 drivers. If that's the case, he'll have to go through 3 drivers to get to the lead. But he doesn't have to necessarily post a pole lap time. As long as he posts a fairly decent one, then, you know, there's still plenty of chance during the race to overtake. But there is only a minute remaining, so he needs to push. He needs to get that lap in if he is going to improve at all. Through the last couple of corners now, turn 9, turn 10, this right-hander, he's on the curb, using a little bit of that sausage. He's got Marcy just ahead of him, now across the line. Where does Topinka come out? Does he improve? Yes, he does, but not enough to take P3. Could this be? Could this be? I cannot believe it. Looks like Topinka is struggling slightly. Could this be the first time that Topinka does not start from pole? this season and ever in broadcast history. Jackson improving by 0.2 seconds through Sector 2, now into Sector 3, almost at the end of it really, through Turn 9, into Turn 10 now. A little bit of curb, comes across the line. Wow, what? Ugh. Sorry, that sounded really weird. Where does he come across? P5 for him, so just behind Topinka. In fact, he's only 2/10 off Topinka. Topinka seems to be slacking today. Maybe not the most comfortable track for him. Dutton now through that hairpin. He's had a bit of a stinker this session. He's only got, well, 0 seconds to come across the line. He's got 3 minutes to finish his lap. And this then is officially the end of qualifying. Peters comes across. He's locked in P9, or he's locked in at least P9, and he'll be dropping down. Oh my goodness, a bit of oversteer from Dutton through the right-hander. Just keep pushing, mate. Just keep pushing. Your lap time's not completely over yet. Through the left-hander, we do have sometimes improving. Topinka is on an improvement. Will it be enough? I think he's just heading into the final couple corners now. Where will Topinka come out? Will he improve enough to advance a position? No, he does not. Topinka crosses the line P4. Oh my goodness. So yes, this is indeed the first time that Topinka does not come across the line and take pole position. Marcy, our pole starter, then Limburgs, then Rebecci. Dutton now across the line, and he's locked his time in as well. Oh my goodness. So Topinka not starting from the front of the grid, the very front, P1 for Topinka. It's currently P4 for Topinka. Marcy starting at the front, Limburgs P2, and Rebecci P3. Oh my goodness, this is setting up to be a very nice race indeed. Craddock in the AMs also at the front, and Manship in the Pro-Ams also at the front. So we'll see how this all goes in just a couple moments. Join us, definitely grab a drink, grab some popcorn, grab some snacks and stuff, because we've got 75 minutes of racing ahead of us. And here we go, the race is about to start. We've got 2 minutes before it starts, but as is tradition now in Season 4, we get a little grid walk, a little run through the grid with our drones. So, at the front we've got Marcy taking P1 for the pros. We've got Limburgs alongside. Then we've got Rebecci, Topinka, Jackson, not five. I keep getting them confused for some other reason. Schubert. Then we've got Craddock P1 for the AMs. Very good qualifying lap from this guy in the McLaren. And we've got Lavagnos, Peters, Manship in the McLaren. Also very good qualifying lap. Currently P1 for the Pro-Ams. And we've got Dutton, Taylor, Simmons, Curtis, Osduru. Here's Pfeiffer. There's Fox in the BMW. Warburton in the Mercedes, and look at that, the two DSRT cars right alongside each other. The DSRT twins. Yeah, sorry guys, I'll probably definitely be messing up your names at some point doing the stream for Nagan on the right and Janssen on the left. Then we've got Huben in the GTR, Puller in the BMW. Again, 2 Porsches starting side by side, Elford and then Tyler. And then bringing up the rear, we've got Malott and Christoph. And I have to say that was a record-breaking time for us. We usually have a little bit of a struggle. And yes, this is me controlling the drone, which explains a bit of the dodgy flying for a little bit. But hopefully the cars don't end up taking out the drone as they come filing past right at the start of the, well, at the start of the straight. Although really, well, at the start line, but not start of the straight. So let's see, does anyone hit the drone or take evasive action? There's Rebecci getting a bit funny. Cool, there's Peters, Manchip, Dutton, Taylor, Simmons. There's the Mustang of Curtis, Pfeiffer, Durum, Fox, Wilburton, Van Lagen, Janssen, Huben. And here we go, the last couple of drivers now coming across the line. Let's get this thing going. Oh my goodness, I am looking forward to this. Marcy, again, this is just incredible. I cannot believe Topinka has not set the fastest time at the Red Bull Ring yet. We'll see how the race goes, because it might have just been a dodgy qualifying session. And at the pro level, setups do tend to influence quite a lot. But yeah, a lot of it does come down to driver's skill still. So we'll see how it goes. But Marcy, yeah, P1 for the pros. And then we've got Craddock in the AM, starting ahead of the Pro-Am driver, Manchip, that gold, or orange and blue car. Just 2 cars down, directly behind each other now. Those are our leaders for the AM and Pro-Am class. So we'll just have to see how the race start goes, really. Turn 1 will be a mess. We'll have plenty of drivers going over the curbs. And I think turn 3 is also going to be an absolute mess. It's that massive hairpin run, so we're going to have to keep an eye out for some drivers back there. We'll have to see how it all goes. Because, yeah, I think it's going to be nuts. It's going to be nuts. Last check for the live chat. Any last words of encouragement? I mean, Marcy, keep your eyes on the road, man. Kevin G, yep, get those fryers. Well, I hope the fryers have already gone because it is time to race now. So I hope you still don't have those fryers on, because you might accidentally burn down your house. Hosco, don't be greedy, man. Don't eat all the snacks yet. You've still got 75 minutes to go, man. 115. Sorry, I just read that wrong. 1 minute and 5. Woo! Brain is really not braining tonight. 1 hour and 15 minutes. Oh my goodness. Okay, here we go. Turn 9. And again, I still don't have a name for it. The cars going into their double single file or 2 single file lines. Turn 9. And then only 1 more corner before the start of round 6 of the GT3 Season 4 Championship at the Red Bull Ring. And it's go time. 26 cars roaring down to turn 1 to start. 1 hour and 15 minutes of racing. Lembergs with a good start. Topinka looking down the inside of Rebecci. And there it is, a little bit of contact, but Topinka is through now. He's past Rebecci right at the start. And the rest of the grid slowly filing through turn 1. And yes, everyone has managed to get through that successfully and without crashing, so that is some good news. Now into turn 3, however, it's Lembergs around the outside into turn 3. Does he get the move done? Not quite. He's showing the outside to Pinker, trying to make a move at some point as well. Let's see how this goes into turn 4, though. Marcy still ahead. And we've got Topinka behind Lembergs. 2 Lamborghinis maybe looking at a move here. There's Topinka going the usual line. Lembergs going defensive. So does Marcy. And Topinka trying to go around the outside. He says, "No, don't worry about me. I'll just stick it down the inside into turn 6 instead, maybe." A little bit of late braking. Oh my goodness, there's Rebecci also going around the outside through turn 6. Topinka not quite clear there. And we do have some cars dropping down the grid. A couple No, all still pretty good. I don't think we have any major issues. 197, just a slow start, but he did start from the pit lane, and Rebecci's dropped down a couple positions. Here's Jackson looking at a potential overtake onto Pinker into turn 9. He's still there, but he does back out slightly, and Craddock now past Rebecci into turn 9. There's Lavagnos not too far behind. Oh my goodness, Rebecci's dropping down the grid. A bad run through turn 10 for Craddock though, and Rebecci's back past him. Is he able to bring it over to the left into turn 1? Not quite. There's Lemberg's having to defend from Topinka in the foreground. Lavagnos now going down the inside of Craddock. And it is interclass racing at this point, but there's Schubert in the background. Not interclass racing. Schubert maybe an overtake into turn 3. Oh my goodness, there's a car stationary. I'm not sure who that is. Here's Schubert down the inside into turn 3. Keep that braking nice and neat, gents. Still there, half a car's length, but he's stuck now behind Craddock. He's got nowhere to go. Oh my goodness, and he touches the back of Peters. And they're still side by side going into turn 4, but it's a better exit for him despite Craddock getting in the way. Here's Manchip as well, potentially getting involved, and Schubert has made that position. So that is Schubert up into P8, and there's Manchip going slightly slow. Dutton looking at a position swap there, and Nimbergs and Jackson are now fighting over P3. Topinka managed to get past at the start somewhere, so looks like Topinka is not taking P4 start as a good sign, but he's pushing as hard as he can, and he's made some good progress so far. Now it's just Marcy who needs to try and stay consistent and stay ahead of Topinka, stay ahead of this absolute machine. Got some close racing here. Simmons, Osturu, Fox in the BMW, and the Porsche not far behind. Simmons only 0.1 seconds there. He is looking down the inside into turn 10. Not quite there. How does his exit fare though? Simmons a bit slow. Fox maybe catching up a little bit. This is not interclass racing between Simmons and Fox, but it is between Osturu and Simmons now into turn 1. And again, Osturu taking quite a wide line there, and Simmons choosing maybe to play a little bit of a psychological game to try and get there. Jackson just swapped with Rebecci for a position. 0.1 seconds between those guys up at the top. There's Rebecci going defensive, and Jackson maybe trying around the outside of turn 3. It's going to be hard. On the exit though, he runs completely over the curb. How does the Vanyos manage to make use of that? He doesn't. It's still only 0.3 seconds between them, so there isn't much action going on there. Curtis and Tyler just swapped a position down in P24, so there is a bit of action happening all across the circuit, but the gaps all seem to be fairly consistent. No massive or no very close gaps. Topinka is still 1.3 seconds off of Marcy, so Marcy is doing quite well at keeping Topinka behind him for a little bit, but he's still got a long way to go. Robertson is only 0.3 seconds off of Pfeiffer, now closing on the exit of turn 8, and I am glad to say that almost all the drivers have made it through lap 1 and lap 2 unscathed, except for Taylor, the yellow McLaren, and just as I say that, Malott is there on the curb of turn 9. Something seems to have gone wrong there, and Simmons just lost the position to Fox. So there seems to be things happening. Janssen now down the inside of Huben into turn 1. Nice clean racing between these two, interclass racing. And there's stuff happening all over the place. Fox and Simmons now into turn 3. Fox there, he wants that position so badly, he dives for the apex. How will his exit compare to that of Simmons though? The Mercedes maybe dropping slightly back, just a little bit off the throttle. Dutton and Peters also just swapped the position. Here's Simmons now going around the outside into turn 4. He's got some extra exit speed. How will that help him mid-corner though? I'm not sure. We've got Warburton going a little wide, a little down the inside. Here's Simmons now, the inside of turn 5. He's got that run. Oh my goodness, and there's a Porsche going perpendicular to the track, drifting. And is that Simmons with a move down the inside of turn 5? No, that is him. There's Fox going wide, and it's again Simmons just there. He's still there. He wants that position going down the inside. He has backed out a little, but that has forced Fox out wide, and it's great racing between these guys for P2 in the Pro-Am class. Here's Simmons now going around the outside into turn 9. Again, these guys are fighting so hard over this. Simmons A better exit. No, he's drifting, in fact, and there's Puller. Oh my goodness, Simmons trying to cover off Puller, and that has put Puller almost into the gravel. In fact, it's Simmons going wide. Here's Pfeiffer now, about to make the overtake into turn 1 potentially. He's got some extra speed on him. He's already got his nose down there. He's got half a car's length, so he does have claim to that corner. Simmons turning in. Yes, some good clean racing here. A bit wide from Simmons, trying to keep that exit speed up, but he cannot do anything against that fast Ferrari, and that is Pfeiffer up position as well. Here's Warburton also looking at a position. Oh my goodness, the Pro-Ams are bringing it all today. 2 Mercedes and a Ferrari, almost 3 wide. There's the Mercedes diving down into the inside, and that's a brilliant overtake from Simmons. Maybe a bang on the side of that Ferrari, but great overtake. Just dove for the apex, and that is a position made up for him. Alfa now in the background making a position on the Mercedes ahead. Warburton having to defend. No, there's Warburton. Oh my goodness! Oi! Just keeps it out the back of the Mercedes in front. Warburton almost into... Oh my goodness, here we go. It's all kicking off now. Puller past Warburton. Warburton diving down the inside of Pfeiffer, almost into Simmons. Just kept it out the back of him. And, whoo, that's all calmed down a little bit, but Puller is catching up to Alfred now. 0.2 seconds, 0.3 seconds, quite a kinetic midfield here. Up at the top, not much has changed except that Topinka is now between... He's only 0.3 seconds off Marcy, so Marcy somewhere lost the gap. And you can see Huben, the GTR in the background, also looking at a position. And here's Topinka, only 0.1 seconds off of Marcy into turn 3. This is for the overall race lead. Topinka goes round the outside. Marcy trying to defend. How will this all pan out? They're both using as much of the track as possible. Marcy putting up a good defense to put his car almost in the middle of the track. How do the exits compare to Topinka? He needs a good exit if he wants to keep this position. Really squeezing Marcy as much as he can, but he's ahead now. Marcy has no claim to the corner. Woo! And there we go. That is the position made up for Topinka, who takes the race lead. Brilliant racing between these two. Kept it clean, but pushed each other all the same. Topinka now up into the race lead. Marcy losing a position after a good lead. Got some racing here. Oh my goodness, and that's Schubert going round at turn 4. Watch out, clean rejoin. Yes, there we go, good job. We have seen some atrocious rejoins, and the big boss did say he was going to be heavily penalising anyone with some dodgy rejoins this race. So, yeah, it's good to see them take that extra precaution. And just behind Schubert, we've got these other couple drivers, these kinetic midfielders, as you might call them. And Warburton right up behind Alfred now. Looks like Warburton did drop a couple positions. Into turn 9, has a look. Makes Alfred think. Alfred not falling for it for a second. Puller right up behind Schubert. Alright, Puller, chill. He's in a different class. He's in a class above. You don't want to be... I mean, to be fair, he wants that security, as we've heard a couple of times. And that's Huben into the pits. Huben losing time. Huben's losing time so quickly I can't even see... No, that was someone else. Apologies. You just see something... You just see a decrease in time and it's gone. And Warburton with a dodgy exit into turn 1, or out of turn 1, sorry. And he lost position to Janssen. Janssen now a Porsche on a Porsche down into turn 3. He's having a look down the inside. And there we go, side by side. They give each other the space. And there we go, some good clean racing between these two. And that is still Alfred ahead of Janssen. Janssen essentially being given the position for free after, sorry, I just almost said Mansell. After Warburton went wide, and Warburton making Janssen think, and I think it worked. Janssen went slightly defensive there, narrower line. Alfred's maybe had a dodgy exit out of turn 4 into turn 5. He's going defensive, forcing Janssen round the outside into turn 5. The left-hander into turn 6 and 7 now. Oh my goodness, and that's Alfred with a bout of oversteer, and he's lost both of those positions, potentially more than just those two. Yes, he's lost. Yeah, he's lost those 2 positions in the Pro-Am class, but not overall. Overall, he's lost more. So that is an unfortunate consequence of the oversteer there. And here we go, Fox right up behind Manship now. This is for the Pro-Am class lead, the Pro-Am race lead. This is incredible. We're seeing a whole new boatload of firsts. Here's Fox, he's got nowhere to go. Simmons is right there. 3 drivers all battling for the final couple podiums. Sorry, not the final couple podiums. the only podium positions available for the Pro class. Simmons forcing his way down the inside of Fox. Fox is trying to squeeze him into turn 3. They're right in the middle of the track. Oh my goodness, and that's Fox into the wall. Fox and Simmons collide, and Fox is now into the gravel at turn 2. And his chance at a podium finish has now resulted in a tragedy. Here is Pfeiffer now on Simmons, taking advantage of that collision, but he can't quite get the exit speed down into turn 4. Oh my goodness, so Fox's opportunity and making a position, or holding that position rather, from Simmons has now disappeared with his adventure into the wall. A little bit of argy-bargy, too tight to defense there. It was fine as it was. Oh my goodness, and there's Craddock, hello. Simmons almost getting taken out by the nose of that white McLaren. Simmons now spins out as well, so Pfeiffer suddenly finds himself promoted to P2 in the Pro-Am class. Look at that. Woo! And those two Ferraris of Pfeiffer and Schubert getting really close there into class racing. This is 0.1 seconds. Craddock now just lost the position to Huben, and Curtis just me. Oh my goodness, and there's a huge crash. There's Huben and there's Warburton, both scattered across the track, and Craddock regains P2. What has happened there? We're going to have a look at the replay there in just a couple of moments, but we can't quite yet because Christoph is ahead of Van Lagen and Alfred. Alfred and Van Lagen, both Pro-Am drivers, trying to make some positions. There's Alfred having a little look down the inside, making Van Lagen think. Van Lagen stuck behind. Oh my goodness, and there's the oversteer we were talking about during qualifying. That is Van Lagen also going round, and Alfred just sails by. Says thank you very much. Simmons just lost the position again to Fox. Here we go. We saw this fight just a couple seconds ago. Fox trying to defend. Oh my goodness, and again some argy-bargy. This time it was Simmons' fault, and he pulls over to let Fox by. If Fox can recover. There we go. So some good sportsmanship here, but argy-bargy is still alive. Argy-bargy in the HSR GT3 Championship is still alive and well, unfortunately, Craig. So yeah, it is an unfortunate consequence of what happens when you put some drivers in race cars and make them very competitive and get a championship going where they can be as competitive as they like and then push each other as hard as they can. None of that probably made sense in the slightest. But anyways, top 3 for the Pro class now. Topinka, Marcy and Limburgs. It's a Lamborghini sandwich really. Topinka and Limburgs and the Lambos sandwiching the Aston Martin of Marcy in P2. And then we've got Lavonios just off of Jackson, not far behind as they go through turn 3. Potentially change for position here for P5 overall. The Ferrari being Jackson and Lavonios being the McLaren, and we do have some penalties being applied to a couple drivers. So that is Dutton and Simmons both receiving 5-second penalties. Again, Craig is watching. Craig is handing out the live penalties tonight. Looks like Malott just lost position to Fox, and Simmons is going to be coming past now in just a couple of moments. Yes, indeed. Limburg's now on his 0.3 seconds off of Marcy. It's not much difference between these two. Limburg's in the Lamborghini. Marcy's done quite well in keeping Topinka within 2 seconds. He's now 1.1 seconds off of him, but he's got Limburg to worry about. The thing is here, though, we've finished about 15 minutes of racing. We've still got another hour to go. And so if they want to catch Topinka, they need to be working together. They can't be fighting too hard at this point in time. Maybe towards the end when there is no hope of catching Topinka, maybe. But at this point in time, if Limburgs is the faster driver, it'll probably be in Marcy's best interests just to let him pass and to tail him. But we'll have to see how the race progresses, obviously, because when you're in a race car, you might think differently. And we do have some more penalties handed out. Manchip with another 5-second penalty, so that could potentially put him behind Pfeiffer. Half a second between Limburgs and Marcy for P2. Looks like Lavonios is again right up behind Jackson for P5, 0.5 seconds as well. It was much closer just a couple seconds ago, but I'm assuming he just had a dodgy exit. Right, and yes, the contact list is looking very full from the race start, so we've got plenty of replays to look at. Looks like Christoph is losing ground rapidly. 5 seconds, 0.4 seconds. There's Warburton in the background. Limburg's again within 0.3 seconds off of Marcy. Levanios also quite close to the back of Jackson, 0.3 seconds. Yeah, Levanios now only 0.2 seconds. Seems every time through that same section of the track, he just loses ground. And it's funny how we can pick up on those patterns, but it's usually when you pick up on those patterns, it's then that you can start making progress. It's then that you can start figuring out, oh, when I do this, it's slower, and I don't actually get that speed up. And Levanios dropping back slightly on Jackson, 0.4 seconds again, just fluctuating just that little bit, half a second between Limburgs and Marcy. And yeah, it seems very, very static between Marcy and Topinka. Still a second after about 17 minutes of racing, so it's good to see some tight lap times between them. But Marcy's gone wide. Is this Limburg's opportunity into turn 9? Yes, it is. Down the inside, and Marcy tried defending it. He can't really do anything. Goes back to the outside. That's Limburg's position, and there we go. Marcy has to back out of it. It would have been a bit of a scary position to overtake. So that's Limburg's up into P2. Brilliant overtaking manoeuvre, just making use of Marcy's dodgy exit out of turn 8, and that is Limburg's up to P2 then. Marcy getting a little hyper behind Limburg's, behind that Lamborghini. We've got two Lamborghinis now, P1 and P2. 1.8 seconds between Topinka and Limburg's now though. So who knows, maybe Marcy was the faster driver between these two. He certainly thinks so. He wants that position back. Back around the outside, Limburg's trying to defend, but Marcy says, oh, don't worry, I'll go around the outside anyways. Rebecci also getting involved. Three-way battle here for P2, and it's still Limburg's down the inside of Marcy. Marcy can't quite get that position done. He's not quite past yet, but here he goes. Round the outside into turn 4, maybe. Limburg's trying to hold on to that position as hard as he can. Woo, some close racing here, but they give each other just enough space, and that is Marcy back up into P2. Great overtake from the Aston Martin. It started all the way down in turn 3, and now it's finally come to fulfillment through turn 4 and then turn 5, and now it's again Rebecci and Limburg's having to battle. And Limburg's again really close to the back of that Aston Martin, and I keep saying this, but they shouldn't be fighting at this point in time. They should just be letting each other go, just giving each other the time and space, and just working together to try and catch up to Topinka, because through that whole interaction they've lost again about half a second on Topinka. It's now up to 2 seconds gap between P1 and P2. So the harder they fight and the more they fight, the further ahead Topinka gets, and Rebecci's had a good move through turn 10. He's maybe setting up for a position change into turn 1, round the outside, keeping it nice and clean. Here we go, maybe Rebecci thinks he can improve. 0.6 seconds, he's got the slipstream. He's almost definitely coming past at some point. There we go, you can see just a little change in speed. There's Limburg's choosing, nope, I'm going to stay on that outside line. Rebecci now a move down the inside. Clean overtake, oh my goodness, except that Limburg's decides, hey, I'm gonna just give you a little tap just to say, hey, I don't quite appreciate that, but anyways, just keep going. Or he might have been trying to give him a bump boost out of turn 3, you know, just a little boost on the exit, you know, just give him just that little bit of extra oomph to get off the heel at turn 3. So yeah, anyways, Rebecci then up to P3 and Limburg's down to P4. So in about 2 laps, Marcy and Rebecci got past Limburg's, and Limburg's has dropped 2 positions. And the battle of the Porsches resumes again. Tyler and Alfred a move down into turn 4, right in the middle of the track. Tyler not really defending it. The blue Porsche concedes it fairly easily, and that is Alfred up to P17. Clean overtake. Craddock is not far off of Curtis, half a second between them. And of course, Craddock was the driver who was in P1 at the start of the race, and then of course we had all those bits of contact that we'll have a look at in just a couple moments. And now he's back up into P3 for his class, and Curtis is P2. So if Curtis plays his cards right, he can defend that position. Craddock goes 1 into turn 1, but if Craddock can get his way, he will be up into P2 for his class, and then he's got a massive gap up towards Duru that he needs to close. And as long as Duru keeps it nice and consistent and clean and fast, then he'll actually take a race win here for his class today. And looking at it, it will be his first race win of the season, second podium of the season. Curtis also looking at his first podium of the season if he stays where he is. And for the other drivers, well, Topinka Topinka's looking at his 5th race win of the season, which is quite a milestone, I think. And then Becci, 3rd podium. Limburg's 2nd podium. No, sorry, Marcy it is we're looking at. Marcy's 2nd podium as well. And then for the Pro-Am's Manship, if he stays where he is, 5th racing of the season potentially. But here we go, Rebecci and Marcy getting a little close to each other, 0.3 seconds between them, and that's a good exit for Rebecci. He's got his nose down the inside and he's passed already. Wow, so minimal defense from Marcy on the exit of turn 3, and Rebecci just goes sailing by. Really quick change for position, and that's the kind of overtaking I would have wanted to see earlier between Marcy and Limburgs, just to keep that momentum going, because now it's up to about 4 seconds between Topinka and Rebecci. 3.6 as they come out of turn 7. Now into turn 8, it is 3 seconds between Topinka and Rebecci, P1 and P2. So yeah, again, they just need to keep that momentum going. Just keep going. Just not really fight too hard around these positions at the moment. So Fox and Tyler just swapped positions. Looks of it quite a clean overtake. Marcy is still right up behind Rebecci, and Limburg's not too far off either. So again, as long as these guys can just keep it clean and just get the fastest laps they can working together, they can start bringing Topinka into this 4-way battle for the podium positions. Look at how close they are, 0.2 seconds, all of them. They've got slipstream. The two at the rear, Marcy and Limburgs. Is there going to be a move into turn 1? Rebecci defending again. This is not too great a prospect. Marcy having to go around the outside of turn 3. Rebecci just going for an inner line. And there's Limburgs also potentially thinking about it, but Rebecci is still holding on. Rebecci still holding on to P2, still holding on into turn 4. Marcy going wide. How does this fare into turn 4? That is Marcy ahead by the time they hit the apex. So he has claimed to that corner, and he then takes P2 for overall and for the pro class. Now Rebecci is back down to P3, fighting with the Limburgs as well. And to be honest, this is the closest battle we have on the grid at the moment. Marcy, then Rebecci, and then we've got Limburgs in the Lamborghini behind, and it's not much of a gap between them. And Limburgs having a look, trying to force Rebecci into a mistake. Again, we don't want to see too much battling at this point in the race, gents. We want to keep that for the end. There's Marcy with a dodgy exit though. Rebecci closing ground, 0.2 seconds between them, 0.1 seconds. He's got the slipstream as well into turn 1. He's having a look. And no, he jumps back in behind. He's closer to Limburgs now though. That Lamborghini, potentially a move into turn 3. 0.4 seconds between them. Not quite sure whether that gap is close enough for an overtake. No, it isn't. Oh my goodness, Limburg's having to take a little bit of an evasive manoeuvre there, and Rebecci invalidating his lap time, which basically just means that he's gone outside track limits. So really, that's in the race that's called track limits violation. And if it's bad enough, it turns into a track limits warning, and you get 4 of those. The 4th one means it's a drive-through. So yeah, you don't want one for sure. You definitely don't want one. These drivers at the top still pushing hard. 0.3 seconds between Puller and Janssen now, down in P13, but for the Pro-Am class, that is P3 at play here. P3 all to play for. Into Sector 3 they go now, the Porsche of again, I just messed it up. Janssen coming up on Puller now. Janssen in the Porsche, Puller in the BMW. I need to remember Janssen, not Van Lagen, it's Janssen about to make the move at some point. Half a second off of him. Limburg's still over half a second, and Rebecci almost a second now off of Marcy, and the gap to Topinka between P2 and P1 is still 2.8. It's about 3 seconds basically. And again, Craddock is within half a second in the background there. You can see Craddock in the white McLaren still about half a second off of Curtis in the Mustang, but these guys are closer. Janssen only 0.4 seconds off the Puller. If Puller has a rubbish exit, could this be an overtake into turn 3? Yes, but it's not quite close enough, I think, for a move. 0.3 between Van Janssen. I just mashed up their names. Van Janssen and Lagen. No, it's Van Lagen and Janssen. I'm still messing that up. I did tell you guys right at the start though, so can't say I didn't warn you. Puller right in the middle of the track. Now over to the left again. He's not quite convinced that he has got that position in a good state though, because he did not use all of the curb, unless that's his line. You know, sometimes that is how it works. Sometimes they just don't like using the curb. Sometimes it makes sense not to use the curb because it might be slippery, as in the rain. But there we go, 0.3 seconds between Puller and Janssen. That gap is closing and closing every lap. A bit of oversteer from the BMW. Could this be Janssen's opportunity? Down into turn 9. 0.3 seconds between them still. So not quite, but he's got the pressure on. He's keeping that pressure applied. Now it's just down to Puller and how well he can deal with that pressure. That's Puller slightly wide from the looks of it. 0.4 seconds between Puller and Janssen. Now 0.3 seconds. Could there be a move into turn 3? Out onto the exit. It's half a second between them, so I don't think there's a potential for a move here. But lower down there is 0.2 seconds between Curtis and Craddock. Curtis in the Mustang, right in the middle of the road. There we go, trying to defend from Craddock. And he went defensive, but he didn't quite go the whole hog, as in put his car right in the middle of the track. He put it kind of over to the left-ish, and then it was down to Craddock to choose whether he wants to stick it out round the outside or brave it down the inside. Now I'm thinking of doing some replays at some point, but the gaps seem just inconveniently close. But we'll have a look anyways. Here's some contact between Rebecci and Topinka right at the start of the race. Let's have a look at this. So if we go right at the start, you can see there's Topinka and Rebecci. Yeah, just a little tap into turn 1, and that's all that they. That's all there was. Craddock still half a second, 0.4 seconds between Janssen and Puller. And again, gaps seem fairly consistent all across the grid, and we are almost at the halfway point now. 44 minutes remaining, 3/4 of an hour. Half an hour has already elapsed, so what would we say? Would that be 3/7 laps? I don't know. Hang on, 15, starts at 15 minutes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 2 of them, 2/5 of the race has elapsed. So it's just the math side of me coming out. which is very odd when you consider my brain is almost currently not clinically dead, but metaphorically dead after a rough week. 0.3 seconds between Janssen and Polar. Again, the gap is just so inconveniently close that you want to keep watching, but you also want to get the race replays done. Ozdur is only 0.3 seconds off Dutton, down in P8, which is up from here. So when I mean down in P8, I just mean, yeah, P8. And 0.1 seconds between them. Ozdur maybe a look on Dutton. Interclass racing yet again, the Aston Martin. Oh, and Dutton ducking into the pits. He doesn't want that battle to continue, or he just wants to get his pit stop done. In his case, it might be both. And Manchip is right up behind Ozdur now. The battle of the class leaders. Manchip in the Pro Am class, and then Ozdur in the Am class just ahead, 0.3 seconds between them. Pfeiffer also pits, so now we get all the pit stop chaos that ensues. Lavagnos only 0.2 seconds off Jackson, so Jackson maybe with a dodgy exit somewhere. He's got the slipstream down into turn 4. Jackson is defending his position as hard as he can on the straight. Will it be so into the corner? Yes, it will. Jackson going very defensive, not even on the left side of the track. He's only on the right-hand side of the track. Lavagnos trying to go around the outside into turn 4, but looks like Jackson's defense worked. Jackson has been very good at defending his position from drivers in the past, and there's Warburton almost completely stationary, I assume just to let the faster drivers through, because he is a lap car at the moment. And Lavagnos, unfortunately, after that amazing defense from Jackson, has now fallen behind again, 0.7 seconds between them. So just as things start spicing up, a good defense then puts an end to it. But I mean, it is great to see Jackson still working at it, still working hard at his defense, and it's great to see tonight as well. In general, everyone has been really good with their clean overtakes and their good defending. Only 0.3 seconds between Puller and Janssen. Again, Puller getting a little tail happy in the BMW, but that doesn't seem to really have an effect on his pace into turn 9. Every time I think, oh, maybe he's lost it, but then he's still fine. Lavagnos now only 0.1 seconds off Jackson, back up again. Here we go into turn 3. Lavagnos again being forced to go around the outside. Jackson in the middle of the track defending his position. Is Lavagnos ahead by the time they hit the apex? No, he isn't. Jackson once again with a brilliant defense, keeping Lavagnos behind. But as we saw earlier, as we were talking about it earlier, if they defend too hard, they can't catch the cars ahead. And it is 10 seconds between Lembergs and Jackson, P4 and P5. And Jackson, again, measure going a bit defensive into turn 4. It's great to see him still abiding by the rules of racing. You know, just keep your line, just keep a straight line. Don't change it under braking. Now, further up the grid, 0.4 seconds between Rebecci and Marcy. It looks like Ozdur and Manchip are still at it, making overtakes. Curtis now right up behind Janssen. There's Curtis in the Mustang making a move down the inside of the Porsche. And that is a clean overtake for the driver in the red, white and black car. The bigger red, white and black car. I just realised as I was saying it might be a little more confusing. But see, that's my point. That's why I don't quite like all these red, white and black liveries. They look brilliant, but too many of them are on track at the moment. So I keep, I don't mess them up, but you know, it then just gets a little more confusing for you guys. But yeah, I mean, I could still tell the difference. So yeah, Mustang past the Porsche, Curtis passed. So now he's going to start working on getting up towards Duru's level, and Puller maybe slightly slow. Here's Curtis down the inside into turn 1. He's had a good exit out of turn 10. They're both neck in neck. Has Curtis got half a car's length? Yes, he does. There we go, fully alongside by the time they hit turn 1, so he's got claim to that corner. And Puller being forced wide, but Puller, almost every time he's got Janssen down the inside of him into turn 1, and he manages to stay clean as they head through that corner. So it's nice to see some good awareness from the BMW driver. And that Mustang under braking just clears some ground on the BMW. 4 cars now, all battling for P10. All in the midfield. McLaren, ooh, getting a little squirrely under braking, late braking section. and as a result, Puller is now back ahead, and he's got a little bit of gap, so we might be able to have a little look at some of the replays again. 4 seconds, 0.3. Looks like Jackson has just hit the pits. Craddock right up behind Janssen. Of course, Janssen will not appreciate an overtake at this point in time. There he is, going either defensive or just planning to go into the pits. Craddock doesn't mind. Either way, he's just going around the outside, and yes, it was Janssen going into the pits. Curtis now again with a run down at turn 1. Puller deciding to go defensive yet again into turn 1 for the first time, though he's going defensive into turn 1. The other turns he's been a little bit more defensive, but there we go, the cutback, oh my goodness, and they collide, and that is almost Curtis into the wall. Puller, I'm not sure whether there was any contact with the wall for him, it doesn't look like it, but they were both very close to it. Puller and Curtis collide, and there is Curtis giving the position back. Again, great to see the sportsmanship on display. Oh my goodness, so some close battling there between the two different classes, and again ultimately just results in a collision, and they both lose time. Curtis losing essentially P2 because Ozduri has obviously pitted, but at the moment, yeah, he's lost the race lead. So let's have a look at some more race replays now right at the start again. This is between Fox and a couple other drivers. Ooh. Let's see how this goes. Right into turn 1, the usual stuff, 4 abreast. There's Fox and there's Curtis. A little bit of, again, just a little bit of argy-bargy. Nothing to be concerned about really. And yeah, the pit stops have ensued. Marcy, Limburgs, Rebecci and Peters all into the pit. Same with Van Lagen and Malott. Now Jackson just trying to cut through the traffic. He has already pitted. There's Tyler going defensive or just letting Jackson by. Either way, they are in different classes, so if it was, then, you know, great sportsmanship from Tyler to let him by. Here's Christoph, a blue flag driver, and he is letting Jackson through as well, unless he's planning on defending his position, which he shouldn't as a blue flag to driver. And there we go, some good awareness from Christoph as well. Alpha now right up behind Van Lagen. Oh my goodness, this is confusing. He was battling with Janssen a bit earlier. Here we go, Van Lagen and Alfred. And no move there. He moved back behind him at the end, just as they were hitting the apex. And Alpha goes wide, and that's again just a little bit of a loss in terms of gap to Van Lagen ahead. Those Porsche sound wonderful going into turn 4, don't they? Just your downshift. We've got now some contact between Huben and another driver. Let's have a quick look at what happened here again right at the race start. We get to look at it from all angles. So Huben, there's Alfred, just a little tap. Nothing too serious yet again. Some good awareness there. A little further on, we do have contact between Curtis and car number 98. Let's have a quick rapid fire now, just as the pit stops happen. Here we go, so 4, there's Curtis, there's the Porsche, there's the BMW. And to turn, I suspect it was just 5 for behind, just a little tap, just enough to make the software go, hey, something happened here. And for us to go, yeah, nothing major. Tyler and Fox just swapped positions just ahead. Tyler in the Porsche and Curtis right up behind them now. And there's Mercedes of Warburton going wide. P24, he is dead last, unfortunately. So he is letting everyone through. Here's Curtis now with a bit of speed, both in the same class. Both AM drivers, 0.4 seconds. Curtis has a good exit out of turn 5, keeps the inside line into turn 6. He's got the outside now. Tyler defending heavily into the couple left-handers, and Curtis has to back off. And it's some good defense, but now the faster cars are coming through. It's time to let them through. Oh my goodness, and Lindbergh's almost going on the inside of Curtis, almost taking him out, and Curtis choosing to go over to the right-hand side, letting them through. Cool, let's have a look at some more contact now. Four-way contact between, again, car 68 Curtis and some other drivers. Let's have a look. So down into turn 3 again, the usual kind of chaos, and again Pfeiffer just at the back there, and some close things going on. And here we go, Curtis on time. Oh my goodness, and Warburton going around in the background. Oh my goodness, and Curtis now down the inside through turn 2. He went round the outside, down the inside now turn 3, and he's got that move done already. Rebecci only 0.3 seconds off Marty despite the pit stop stuff happening. Osduru and Manchip are still fighting hard just for overall position. In terms of class position, they're both P1, so they both know what's really at stake here. But you know, if they're respectful and they have fun, then you know, guess that's all right. So after all the pit stop chaos, Marcy has managed to close about a second to Topinka. He's now only 2 seconds off of Topinka ahead. 0.3 seconds there, 0.4 seconds between Rebecci and Marcy. Almost said Rebecci and Messi. It's amazing what the brain can do when it is dead. Not clinically, metaphorically. We've got some contact between Fox and another driver. Right at the start again. We've got time to just go through everything. We've still got half an hour to go. Let's have a look at this real quick. We go down into turn 3. And that is Osduru. Just a little friendly tap to the rear. And potentially the Porsche as well alongside. Again, I just don't know whether that's Van Agen or Janssen. Either way, there was maybe a little bit of argy-bargy there yet again, and Manchip and Osduru still going at it. Look at these two fighting hard but fighting fair. There is a gap between them. Manchip now the inside line claimed as they head into the right-hander around the outside of turn 2. There we go. Again, some nice racing between them, and Christoph gets out of the way. Again, good awareness from that Ferrari driver. He does need to let them through though, which he isn't. He seems to be defending his position. And the braking though, he brakes a little earlier than they do, so guess he does let them through after all. There was a bit of hesitation there. I wasn't sure whether he was going to defend his position. We've seen a lot of things at HSR in the past. We've got some contact between Topinka and Rebecci really early on in the race. Again, let's have a look at this. How did this pan out? Okay, so there's Topinka making the overtake on Rebecci. Rebecci turns in and finds, hey, there's a Lambo there. I can't quite turn in. And yeah, he then suffers the consequences of insufficient observation or inefficient observation. So Topinka now losing time to Marcy, now 1.4 seconds. So could this heat up to potentially a final lap battle? Or could we see him move earlier? We'll have to see. We shall have to see. We'll have to keep an eye on this gap. Everywhere else, it's much larger. Osduru half a second off of Manchip again. Those two are just going to keep battling till the end of the race. 1.2 seconds between Topinka and Marcy now. So let's have a look at again some more contact. We've got 77 and 61. That's going to be Schubert and another driver. Let's have a look at this. Right, again, turn 3. There's the Vanios. There's Peters. Oh, and that was the little heart-stopping moment when Kurt Peters almost went into the wall at exactly this spot. Almost into the wall, but not quite. That was really close, wasn't it? We've got Fox on Huben, 0.4 seconds between them. Again, interclass racing. But nothing still to worry about. We've got 68, which is Curtis again, and Puller with a collision. Let's see what happened here. Okay, so there's Puller down the inside of Curtis, and on the braking oar, just a little tap, and that sent Curtis straight on into the gravel. Fortunately, it didn't spin him round. Oh my goodness, but there seems to be stuff happening here. Fox in an overtake. That has made Huben a bit slow. And this is Curtis now. He's P3 for his class, P3 for the AMS. Huben P2. Could there be an overtake here from Curtis? He thinks so, down into turn 4, making Huben think. A little move under the braking. And that's meant he's got a dodgy exit out to turn 4. Turn 5 upcoming now. Turn 6, is there potential for... No, there's not potential for a look. Curtis still behind Huben. 0.2 seconds. Ooh, you could see they were thinking about it. He was thinking about it, and Huben thought he was also going for it, giving him the space. There we go, the cut back now from Curtis into turn 9 potentially. P2 for the AMS at stake here. He's going down the inside into turn 9. Here we go. Oh, and he backs out into the usual racing line, and he keeps it just within the white line on the exit. 0.4 seconds between them now, but Huben's had a rough start. He's had a rough exit out of that corner. Curtis has had a good run. How does their pace compare? Huben's going defensive. Here's Curtis now down into turn 1. He's got the inside line, and that is Curtis up to P2 for the AM class. Brilliant overtake. Great racing between these two, and it's great to see a bit of a psychological game to this as well, as Curtis kept pushing his opponent, kept trying to test the boundaries, and then eventually he just found a spot where he had more speed and got by fairly easily. And I'm seeing a sub-second gap between Marcy and Topinka. Yes, I know. Very interesting. 0.8 seconds between Marcy and Topinka at the moment. So Marcy definitely putting in the hard work. In the meantime, we can watch Ozduru making a move on Manship down into turn 4. And Manship now back. It almost doesn't feel like we should be going nuts over this battle, because it's just, I feel like this one's more for fun, because these two are the race leaders. They've got a 13-second gap down to the next Pro-Am, and in Ozduru's case, he's got about, I don't know, 30 seconds down to Curtis for P2 in the AM class. So, you know, it feels like there's not really too much to go nuts about this battle. They are really, at this point, they're just having fun, so I'm jealous of them. They're just having fun racing against each other, battling so hard, and they're not even in the same class. They're both race leaders. They both have a lot at stake here, but they still race hard. "25 minutes remaining in the race, almost coming into the last, well, we are into the last half. And there's Alfred. What's happened to Alfred? Alfred now suddenly going back into the pits. Is there contact between himself and another driver? No. So I suspect he might have spun out and hit something. Ah, man, heartbreak. And Fox is also going slow. What's happened here? Fox car 80 also into the pits. So suddenly things are starting to happen. Let's have a quick look at the replay. So here's Fox at turn 4, Curtis behind. Looks like we caught it just in time, and it's just suddenly going slow into the gravel. Is there a technical issue? I hope not. And he's just stopped. You can see the wheels turn slightly, and yeah, into the pits he goes. What has happened? Fox's race started all right, and then battle with Simmons for some podium positions, and potentially even the race win, the race lead. And now He's back in the pits, potentially last. Well, he can't be last because Warburton is, then it's Elford, and then it's Fox. So definitely not a good day for the driver in the BMW. Let's have a look at some other replays. Again, Curtis. Curtis seems to have had quite an active day today. Let's see what happened between himself and Malott. So here we go. Malott in the NSX. There's Curtis and trying to get back alongside into turn 9. And just a little bump to the side. Just a little bump on the side of the car. And that was it. And there's again a second collision between them a little further on. And then into turn 9. I suspect anything happened. Oh my goodness. Oh, and that's what started all the chaos down at turn 9 and 10. It was because of that incident between Curtis and Malott. And then it all just spiraled, it all just snowballed from there, because it is quite a tight section through there. So if there's any kind of contact there, it will likely not have some lovely consequences. I phrased that really weirdly, I know. Right, gaps still pretty much as they were before, and yeah, some funny pit strategies from Schubert and Craddock. They're the only ones who haven't pitted yet, P1 and P2 at the moment. And Marcy's within half a second, sorry, not half a second, he's within a second of Topinka, and Rebecci's also roughly about a second off of Marcy for P2. So let's have a quick review of, theoretically, our top 3 positions. I feel like Craddock and Schubert need to pit though before we can do that, before we can go into kind of that review. So we'll hop back into the replays. Let's just have a look at what happened. Here's something between Craddock and car 61. Okay, there's Craddock round the outside of Schubert. Just a little tap, I guess, but that's weird. So wait, car 87. That was weird. It's weird how the liveries changed there. And I'm seeing Fox and another car 199, with a collision as well, a little further on. So this was the Simmons and Fox contact into turn 2. You can see Fox moving over. Little tap. Okay, no, so this wasn't that major issue that we had earlier. But it was one of the, I guess it was just one of the contacts, a little bit of the fighting. 3.6 seconds between Rebecci and Marcy. Marcy in the Aston Martin ahead, Rebecci in the McLaren behind. 20 minutes left in the race, almost the final fifth of the race to go. Right, let's have a look at some more replays. We had one between Puller and car 98. Here we go, Puller defending from a Porsche going around the outside, and just a little bit of a touch there, forcing the Porsche wide, and very close between those two on the exit. There was maybe a couple millimeters between them. There we go, Schubert's finally caved into the pressure. He's finally come in to pit now. Schubert, that green and blue Ferrari now into the pits. Half a second now between Rebecci and Marcy, so he's closing that gap. Of course, Manchip and Ozduru are still battling for P11 overall, but still both are still P1 for their classes. I love that. That is brilliant. 0.4 seconds, that gap is closing. Manchip 0.3 seconds. Janssen now within a second of Pfeiffer. So that could be a battle for P2 in the Pro-Am class to watch as well. But Rebecci is really closing that gap up to Marcy now. It's closing, it's closing, it's closing, but the gap to Topinka is also closing, 0.8 seconds. These three getting closer and closer together, and so if these two drivers behind Topinka play their cards right, they can potentially bring Topinka into a three-way fight, and then rather than it being a 50-50 fight and a low probability of having a 50-50 fight, they could turn it into a 30-30-30 fight with a higher probability of getting past. And oh my goodness, someone got a drive-through, and that's Rebecci with a drive-through. Oh my goodness, I'm not sure exactly why, but Rebecci has now got a drive-through, P3 in the Pro Class, P3 theoretically overall, and that then essentially means that he won't really have a chance. So now it's really all down to Marcy to close the gap to Topinka. Now suddenly a gap has also closed between Lavagnos and Peters. Peters in the BMW having a look at the McLaren down to turn 3, and he was thinking about it. You can see he was thinking about it, and Lavagnos knows it. On the exit, the BMW's got some good straight line acceleration, some great straight line speed. 0.3 seconds between them still. And this then would be for P6 overall. Oh, they're really close between these two. P6 overall, P5 for the class. And Peters making Lavagnos think. He's putting some pressure on him, some psychological pressure as well. Peters was last season's champion, so he's got a couple tricks up his sleeve, trying to show us why he was the Season 3 champion. No luck yet, 0.3 seconds there. Janssen now almost half a second off of Pfeiffer, just over half a second down in P13. So there could be a potential for a fight there as well. Topinka about to make the move on Craddock for P1 overall, I guess, but Marcy 1.9 seconds behind Topinka now. Here's Peters with a better exit, 0.2 seconds. Could there be potential for an overtake into turn 4? Lavagnos maybe thinks so. And Peters having a look down the inside, making Lavagnos think for a little bit. Under the acceleration though, Peters has a great run through turn 5, and just like that he's ahead. Wow, really nice and clean, quick overtake between Peters and Lavagnos. Looks like Topinka finally managed to get past Craddock, but Craddock now jumps into the pits, and here we go then. About 7/10 between Marcy and Topinka for the race lead. Close between these two. I think Topinka had a little bit of trouble trying to overtake Craddock, but he's had a dodgy exit out of turn 1. He's been onto the curbs a little bit, 0.4 seconds between Topinka and Marcy. Marcy is closing that gap. He's really quite close to the back of Topinka. That Aston Martin is closing ground on the Lamborghini. Oh my goodness, 0.2 seconds between them. Marcy right up behind Topinka. He's going to have that slipstream. Topinka trying to defend his position on the straights. He's putting his car over to the left-hand side. Marcy thinking about it. No, not a move yet. He's biding his time. Lavagnos now also making a move on Peters at some point, but we can't switch because this is for the race lead. This is for the Pro Class race lead, and you can see Marcy getting very proactive behind Topinka. Now they're coming up on Christoph, some more traffic. Oh my goodness, and that's slow from Christoph. Christoph right in the way, right on the racing line. And unfortunately, Topinka and Marcy both react just in time. They don't collide. Marcy now literally right up behind Topinka, 0.1 seconds. This is a fight that's developing. The last 15 minutes of the race, the last fifth, and Topinka has pulled a small gap between himself and Marcy. It was close. We were getting excited, but it looks like Topinka's got a little bit of a run out of that corner. and Marcy still trying to close ground. Schubert 0.3 seconds. Schubert and Dutton just swapped positions. Rebecci now 0.3 seconds off Lavagnas. What happened there? So it looks like maybe a swap for positions. Peters, Lavagnas and Rebecci all separated from each other by about 0.3 seconds. Lavagnas only 0.2 seconds. Here we go, three-way battle. The McLaren, oh my goodness, and he's gone sliding. Oh my goodness, and Rebecci just keeps it out the side of that grey McLaren. Oh, one clean rejoin. Yes, there it is. Good awareness from Lavagnas. So Rebecci almost being taken out by a sliding McLaren, but it's all clean. We haven't seen any major crashes here, despite the circuit's composition, but it's still half a second between Marcy and Topinka. Final 15 minutes. He's just too tantalizingly close. He's really close to the back of Topinka. It's just within reach. Marcy hunting for his first race win of the season, and this would be the first time that Topinka would not finish at the top under fair racing, except of course at Imola when Rebecci was there. 0.2 seconds, 0.3 seconds, and I find the braking technique of Marcy to be very interesting, because under braking it looks like he's constantly, I don't know, it looks like his car's almost bouncing under braking, just kind of undulating, kind of weaving side by side really quite quickly under braking into turn 1. Okay, we might have time for another replay. We've got 199 who's left, and Fox again. Let's have a look at this. This was Simmons and Fox. So this is potentially that incident where we had the crash. No, just that little tap from the rear. There, just that little touch between them. They were racing hard, weren't they? So that was much earlier in the race. Let's see whether there's anything else. Yes, we do have again Simmons and Puller a little further on. So there's Simmons and Fox. Puller behind. There was Simmons going slightly wide, and in trying to defend his position from Puller, drives them almost off the track. And now Rebecci only 0.3 seconds off of Peters. So you can see this fight going down yet again. Looks like Rebecci's drive-through has been cleared though, so he's still fine. Just good news for Rebecci. He can still fight, but he has dropped down 2 positions. And the gaps are small as we head into the final 10 minutes of the race. 0.3 seconds between Marcy and Topinka. He is right behind him again. Could we potentially see a last lap really desperate lunge from Marcy? I don't know. I hope not. I've seen what can happen. I had that literally just last night. Literally final lap, final corner. And unfortunately, one of the drivers just did not give the other driver enough space. Oh my goodness, Rebecci and Peters getting real close into turn 3, and that's Rebecci passed through turn 4. Oh my goodness, he's still there. Peters not quite giving up the position, but on the braking, who will get ahead? Peters round the outside into turn 4. Still hanging on. Rebecci on the inside. They keep changing positions. Rebecci still got the inside line through turn 5. That'll leave Peters with the inside line into turn 6. Rebecci almost goes around the outside, but that is Peters then passed and I don't know, would it count as regain or just holding his position, because they technically swapped a couple of times. Oh my goodness, 0.3 seconds, 0.2 seconds between Marcy and Topinka. Could this be it? The Aston Martin, only 0.3 seconds off Topinka for the race lead. 9.5 minutes of racing left to go. Into turn 3, look at how close he is to the rear of that Lamborghini. He's putting him under pressure. This would be the wrong time for a mistake from either of these two. The tension is high between them. Doesn't feel like the malicious kind of, I don't know, that kind of really high tension that we've had previously between, you know, top drivers in a championship. It just, it's like Marcy is he's just waiting. He keeps pushing, and he's just waiting for that one mistake. He's just waiting for that one moment where he can take advantage of an opportunity to get past. But of course, with Topinka's consistent driving, he's not really giving him any opportunity. 2.3 seconds. Oh, Marcy's there. Marcy is close enough. He just needs that slipstream into turn 3, and then he can make the move. As long as he doesn't get a drive through for track limits. Again, Manchip and Ozduru, 0.1 seconds between them. Into turn 4, Ozduru giving Manchip all the space he needs, plus a little extra. Down the inside, Ozduru holding on to the outside line for the inside line into turn 6, and he's still staying ahead. Janssen now only 0.1 seconds off of Pfeiffer into turn 4, and I think there was a little touch between them. And this is now for P2 in the Pro-Am class not championship. And there's Janssen again thinking about a move down the inside, but we are keeping an eye on that race up at the top of the leaderboards. P1 and P2 only 0.4 seconds between them, but it's a closer gap between Janssen and Pfeiffer. Rebecci right up behind Peters as well, 0.1 seconds. They're alongside each other now into turn 3. Rebecci choosing the outside line. Peters trying to defend. Again, Rebecci is thwarted, but on the cutback, he's got a better exit, and that is Peters then conceding the position to Rebecci for P4. And 0.1 seconds between Marcy and Topinka. It is really close between these two for the race lead. 7 minutes to go. We are counting down the time. 7 minutes between now and the race end. So Marcy has 7 minutes to get past Topinka. 0.2 seconds heading onto the main pit straight. 0.3 seconds between them. Oh my goodness, this is close. Janssen also 0.3 seconds off of Pfeiffer for P2. So some major stuff going on at the final couple minutes of the race, the last 6 minutes of the race. 0.2 seconds between Marcy and Topinka. How is his exit? Marcy not quite getting the momentum he needs to make an overtake. Again, on the braking, he just seems to catch up right up to the back of Topinka. Still keeping it clean though. And here's Pfeiffer making the move, and looks like Janssen managed to get past Pfeiffer a little earlier, and now Pfeiffer is having to just hang on to that little gap, 0.2 seconds between them. Look maybe into turn 9. He thought about it, but not quite there. 0.2 seconds between them. Final 5 minutes of the race. Oh my goodness, the tension is getting ever higher. It's getting ever higher between the two race leaders. 0.2 seconds between them into turn 9. And Topinka, I'm sure, is getting nervous. He's nervous. 0.2 seconds between them on the main straight. Looks like Pfeiffer and Janssen are also right up behind each other, but let's stay with these two through turn 1. How is Marcy's exit? We've seen him struggle slightly on the exit. He needs that slipstream to come into effect as soon as possible, but he needs that good exit. So it looks like Topinka's main defense mechanism so far has just been to get a magnificent exit out of turn 1, so he can get that nice defensive line and just stay ahead into turn 3. So that's the main overtaking zone really. But then into sector 2, that's usually where Marcy catches up and closes the gap again. Less than 5 minutes left though. I think Marcy's going to get more desperate. Could there be some sort of change? Could the pressure maybe get to Marcy? Could the pressure get to Topinka even? Who knows at this point? 4.5 minutes of racing remaining. Essentially into the last 3 laps of the race. and Tyler. Some back markers getting in the way, but he's letting them both past. Minimal interference there, 0.2 seconds between Marcy and Topinka. Yet again, really close, half a second between Pfeiffer and Janssen further down. Here we go, 0.2 seconds between Marcy and Topinka, 0.1 seconds. Really, really close here. And again, it just looks like Topinka manages to carry some good mid-corner speed. And that just gives him that extra launch out onto the main straight that kind of negates any effect that the I don't know, what would you call it again? That it kind of negates any effect given by the slipstream. Right, so now we have a little bit of gap to look at more replays. We've got one between Dutton and someone else. Let's have a quick look at this. There you go, so Dutton on Schubert into turn 1, braking, and just a little tap to the rear. Nothing too crazy, nothing too malicious. He's just filing past Christoph now as well, 0.3 seconds between Marcy and Topinka. Yet again, it's always this sector 3 section, but he's lost a bit of time on the exit. 2.5 minutes remaining. It is essentially 2 laps remaining. It is close, it is close. The pressure keeps mounting, the tension just keeps getting higher and higher. More than half a second between them though, so I'm not sure he'll manage to make the move before the end of the race. We've got some contact between Simmons and car 10 as well. Let's have a quick look. Oh my goodness, and that is Pfeiffer facing the wrong direction. Looks like Pfeiffer and Janssen came together down at turn 4, and that's Pfeiffer race essentially ruined. And that was for some podium positions. Yes, Janssen and Pfeiffer coming together at turn 4. That is indeed. Let's have a look at what happened literally right now. So under braking, here's Pfeiffer, absolutely charging, and it actually takes out Janssen. Oh my goodness. That was nuts. Just the speed he was carrying into that corner was just absolutely incredible. And then obviously taking out Janssen ahead. Not cool, but looks like they had some contact earlier. Let's have a look at this as well. About 6 minutes ago, into turn 4. Again, that was just that little touch that we saw earlier. Again, just barely discernible, but you can just see it. Okay, final lap, ladies and gents. 0.7 seconds between Marcy and Topinka. They know that that gap is there. They know it's the final lap. This is where the tension is at an all-time high, because Topinka now, all he has to do is just keep the same pace he has and just bring the car home. Marcy is going to be pushing to make that position at some point. But again, Topinka with that exit out onto that long straight just keeps Marcy behind, and Marcy cannot catch up to him on the straight. Half a second between them, 0.4 seconds. Marcy, he is hoping for a rough exit from Topinka at some point. We might have time for one last replay between Malott and Marcy. I don't think we will though. 0.3 seconds. Dutton has just pitted. Is that for his pit stop, or is that because of last lap issues? Has he maybe run out of fuel? I don't know. Marcy going slightly wide. 0.2 seconds between them. It is going to be very close coming across the line. 0.3 seconds now. It's closing. Oh my goodness, and Marcy touches the gravel. That's unsettled him slightly, and that gap was closing fairly quickly, but it looks like Topinka has managed to stay ahead through the penultimate corner. One more corner to go, and Topinka, under some good pressure from Marcy, manages to stay ahead to take yet another race win. Topinka wins round 6 of the GT3 Season 4 Championship here at the Red Bull Ring. It's his 5th win of the season. starting P4. He's made it all the way up to P1 and stayed consistent despite the pressure. And Marcy, a job well done. Even though he didn't get the race win, it was still great racing between these two. And I'm sure they'll both have plenty to talk about and plenty to debrief each other on. And Limburg takes yet another podium. P3, not too shabby for the other Lambo driver as he pulls in at the end. Osduru will then be the next winner to cross the line. So Limburgs will take his second podium of the season, and Marcy as well. Unfortunately, just not a race win for him. And here is Osduru, the driver, coming across the line to take his first race win of the season. Osduru wins round 6, and Manchip comes across to take also his 5th win of the season. So some milestones being reached. Craddock P2 in the AM class. That's his 4th podium of the season. So again, some good performance. Curtis crossed the line. That is his first podium of the season. And then, of course, Janssen taking P2 in the Pro-Am class. 2nd podium of the season. Pulla also across. So some winners and some podium finishes that we've seen before. But that then is the end of our race tonight. Wow, we saw potential for some new winners and some new podium finishes, and unfortunately it just did not happen tonight, but there was some great action nonetheless. The Pinker making 3 positions over the course of the race, most of it within the first 15 minutes, and despite the relentless pressure from Marcy towards the end, he's stayed ahead and taken his 5th race win of the season. So join us next week, same time, Friday, 7 p.m. BST. We're almost into GMT, but I'll let you know when that changes. 7 p.m. BST on Friday for round 7, penultimate race of the season at the Nürburgring, and we'll all see you there. Good night.